I have 7 content marketing laws to share with you that I want you to get through to you so you can be successful in 2030. I'm going to get right to it. Here's number 1. I started my content marketing career, hard to believe, 20 years ago at Penton Media, and I was hired as account manager for Penton Custom Media. Penton, if you're not familiar at the time, was one of the largest business-to-business media companies in the world, and I was lucky enough to get hired for this account manager position at Penton Custom Media. I was hired in February of 2000. Penton Media went public in 1998 at $16 a share, and I was hired almost to the day of Penton's all-time high, $34 a share. Well, when I was hired, immediately after that, I don't know what kind of value I added for the organization, but two years later, it went from $34 to, I kid you not, 7 cents a share. So I added a tremendous amount of value for Penton Media. So as you can imagine, changes had to be made, and pretty much everyone that I was reporting to or worked around was laid off, and they happened to keep me because I think I was cheap. I wasn't making very much money at the time. They said, oh, we don't really care about Penton Custom Media. We'll just put Pulizzi involved and see what happens. I ended up getting a new boss, and the new boss didn't know anything about custom media, and he says, well, let's call my boss Bill. And Bill calls me, and he says, Joe, why don't you come over, we'll have a meeting, and you tell me about what you do at Custom Media. I had no clue. So I'm pretty excited. I want to do this dog and pony show. I really felt I had to do a good job. I got all my custom magazines and custom newsletters together, really prepared what I thought was going to be a motivating speech for Bill, and went and had the meeting, did what I thought was a good job, and he picks up I kid you not, he picks up the custom magazine. He says, why did you sell this? I said, what do you mean, why did I sell this? That's what the customer needed. We thought that the solution was a custom magazine, and we sold a custom magazine. And Bill said, why wasn't this an advertising program? I said, excuse me? He said, you should have been selling a 9-time or 12-time advertising program instead of wasting your time selling this. And I'm like, okay, that meeting went really well. What do I do now? So I left that meeting because Bill didn't know anything about custom media, content marketing, and didn't care. And I said, basically, I better start looking for a new job. But before I did that, I said, I'm going to do an Andy Dufresne. You know what Andy Dufresne is? Basically, if you remember from Shawshank Redemption, Andy Dufresne had a letter-writing campaign because he wanted more books for the prison library. And every week, he would write a letter to the state. And after so many letters, they got tired of it. And they said, okay, here's your money, and you can buy your books. And I said, that's what I want to do with content marketing. So every couple weeks, I put together a care package at Penton Media for all the publishers, for my boss, for the chief financial officer, and for the CEO. And I put our samples in. I talked about how content marketing can benefit Penton Media, how we can drive revenue, how we can evolve our business model, all those things. And believe it or not, it started to work. Publishers started to call us and say, hey, would you come in for the sales call? We need some help. Our customers are asking questions about telling stories, and we don't know what to do. We don't have a solution for that. I actually got a sit-down meeting with the CEO, was curious about what we were doing, and we ended up actually making it. So I left Penton Media in 2007, and Penton Custom Media was still going strong. When I started in the department, we were a $2 million group. We had about 10 people. And when I left in 2007, we were 30 people, 14 million strong in dollars. So we really, really did a good job. And believe it or not, Penton Custom Media is still alive today. They're part of Informa Engage, and they're right outside. So it's kind of amazing how the worlds have come together. But what I learned off of this is a very important law. And here's the first law. And you need to know this, that the people that you report to in your organization have no clue what you're doing. They have no idea what you were doing. And what I've learned over the past 20 years in content marketing is that content marketing programs do not get killed because of lack of results. They get killed because somebody that holds the purse strings doesn't know what you're doing, and it gets killed that way. So we have to prepare for this, and what you need to do is you need to do that, Andy Dufresne. You need to sell internally, and you have to do, even if you're successful, Because I've seen really successful programs get killed. Did anybody see Casper's Van Winkle program? I love this program. They were going to make the sleep site for the web, and all the information you could get on sleep, they were going to bring it to you. And I looked into this and I started reading. I'm like, why did they kill this program? They didn't kill this program because of lack of results. They killed the program because the people that had the budget didn't know what they were doing or why they were doing it, and they killed it that way. And I have to apologize, and I've been talking about preaching this stuff a long time as part of Content Marketing Institute and telling you this is why certain things fail and certain things don't fail. And I'm telling you that, Robert mentioned some of these. You don't have a documented content strategy. You lack consistency. You don't have differentiation. You don't have enough value. You're not patient enough. And while these things are all very important, it's not the number one thing. The number one thing is we're not selling it hard enough inside the company. And we have to get buy-in, and we have to work for buy-in all the time. So your to-dos here is you have to find the people in your organization now, not just your immediate boss, but everyone in the organization that has somewhat control over your budget, and you need to start that program of educating them. Teach them about the craft of content marketing. What's the payoff? Why are you doing this in the first place? And if you don't do it and your content marketing programs gets canceled, it's probably going to be your fault. All right, number 2. Now, I know you're all way too sophisticated for BuzzFeed content. And I'm sure you don't ever look at any of those BuzzFeed or Tasty articles or videos that are out there. But I am totally in love with BuzzFeed's business model and what they've done. In 2018, they sold $130 million of non-media revenue, mostly in household appliances. Did you know this? This, I think, is fascinating. In 2019, the plan is for $260 million in revenue from the things that you see here. You got Tasty ice cream, Tasty toys, Tasty Spice Kit. You can get Tasty appliances at Target and Kohl's. It's just unbelievable. And by 2020, they're going to sell $500 million in revenue from non-media stuff. I just can't believe what they've been able to do. So that's a media example going to the product side. What about a content marketing example? And one of my favorite case studies, and Amanda Todorovich is speaking later today, and you can catch her detail on this, but Cleveland Clinic has produced Health Essentials, and they've tripled the revenue, direct revenue coming from Health Essentials since 2016. And if you look at the different revenue that's going on, yes, what's their content marketing goal? Their content marketing goal is absolutely to drive more patients into Cleveland Clinic facilities. Absolutely. That's number one. But they also have direct and programmatic advertising. They do sponsored content. They have an amazing syndication program. And they also create content for small companies like Google. So I want you to start thinking this way now, and I call this the law of self-sustainment. Yes, we want to do number one, and we want to fight for that budget. And we should all the time be fighting for that budget. But you can also drive your own revenues, and you should bake in plans to drive multiple lines of revenue. Robert and I talk about this in Killing Marketing. There's 10 different ways to drive revenue once you build a loyal audience. I think most of us don't think that that's possible, but it's absolutely possible. So your takeaway here is absolutely focus on your marketing goal. Number one. But you should bake in plans for direct revenue wherever you can. And I believe the most innovative content brands, such as what Cleveland Clinic is doing, they're going to drive 5, 6, 7 different direct revenue lines. So just start thinking about that. Number 3. So I'm an entrepreneur, and I've started 3 different companies, and of course the first one failed, as most entrepreneurs, first-time entrepreneurs start, they fail. 90% rate is the failure rate for startups. So that's just something that you know getting into that. And I thought this was curious. And while the folks at Stanford Business, they love their startups and they love their unicorns, they also know that startups come with a lot of risk and most fail. So they're saying, well, how can we hedge a lot of that risk? What can we do? And they said, well, let's start this program and teach entrepreneurs how they can buy and acquire businesses instead of starting them fresh. Because what they learned is the failure rate goes way, way down when an entrepreneur comes in and can buy a current business that's out there. But we don't do that as content marketers, right? We're always starting things. You're all content entrepreneurs, if you will, because all your ideas are startups, but we're not thinking about acquisition. And here's my third law is the failed startup law. And I believe that you absolutely need to learn the art of content acquisition and to buy before you build. Computer hardware manufacturer Raspberry Pi wanted to build an audience in the custom PC area as well as the photography area. And how long would it take, and how many resources and how much money would it take for them to start that up? When there were two already out there available, Dennis Publishing had them. They went to Dennis Publishing, they purchased both of them, and it's working out really, really well for them. They got their audience, they got the content, they got the brand right away, and they took a lot of the risk off the table. Arrow Electronics wanted to have the largest audience of engineers in the B2B electronics space. How long would it take them, and how much risk would they have to put out there to get there? Well, they went to UBM Tech and purchased about 50 different brands and got there. Of course, it was a little bit of an investment, but they got there in no time at all, and that's working out really, really well, and they're actually quite a profitable group. So my question is, when Grantland went belly up, why wasn't it Nike? Why wasn't it Under Armour? Why wasn't Adidas involved in purchasing that? That's still the Grantland.com page right there. It was a good run, sorry. I can't believe there's no smart brands out there that purchase those assets. I know you're all deer hunters out there. Deer and Deer Hunting magazine just went belly up, and it was for sale. And my question is, instead of the two people that purchased that for almost nothing, why didn't Winchester Rifles or why didn't Yeti Coolers purchase this? Or this is one that just happened. I'm sorry, this is one that happened while I was at Penton Media, convenience store decisions. So when Penton sort of had a little bit of a fire sale and they were selling off brands and times were really struggling, this one went for $75,000. Every one of you could have afforded this. So why wasn't Red Bull or 5 Hour Energy or Pepsi? Why didn't they get involved in this? Because nobody's thinking about it. This needs to be part of our job as marketing experts. So I really want you to learn the art of content acquisition. And if you don't know, I go through it step by step at that short link if you want a little head start. And start listing all the brands that there's a possibility that you might need, that you could want, that would really get you to your goal faster. And identify all those assets, content assets, email assets, brand assets. And I got to tell you right now, in every one of your markets, there are distressed media assets for sale where you will have an opportunity, but if you're not looking for them, you're going to miss out. Number 4. Have anyone seen MailChimp Presents program? No, you haven't seen it? So MailChimp Presents, first of all, I'm a MailChimp customer. I love MailChimp, so what I'm going to say has no effect on that. MailChimp Presents launched their content marketing program, if you will, and they launched 12 or 13 things at the same time. They launched documentaries and podcasts, and they just launched an animated series, video series, all kinds of things, all at the same time. And they're trying to inspire entrepreneurs. So the first thing is, I really, really hope this succeeds. I love the idea of what they're doing and that they want to inspire entrepreneurs. But I also know that this will, 99.9% of me says this is absolutely going to go down in failure. It is not going to work. So I apologize to MailChimp. If you're part of this program, it's not personal. It's just business. This is not going to work, folks. Why do I know this? Because they've always failed. And whose fault is it? It's Ryan Seacrest's fault. And you're probably like, why is it Ryan Seacrest's fault? I'm actually going to tell you why. I want you to focus on doing one great thing, but Ryan Seacrest doesn't do that. And I'll tell you what Ryan Seacrest does. So I'll get up in the morning, and I'll turn on the television, my old-fashioned television, turn it on, and there's it's live with Regis and Kathy Lee. But Regis isn't on, or Kathy Lee. It's Kelly and Ryan, okay? So he's on in the morning, and I watch that, and then I've got a meeting, let's say I'll go into my car, turn on the radio, and then there's Ryan Seacrest on iHeartRadio. So I don't know how he got from Live with Kelly so fast, and now he's doing his radio program. I'm like, wow, he's on for hours with his radio program. Then I get back from my meeting, I go home, and I say, I want to turn on a little American Idol. Is that show still on? Okay, let me see if it's still on. I turn it on, and there's Ryan Seacrest there again. He's everywhere. The man is not human. Nobody can do what Ryan Seacrest does, and that's what we're trying to be Ryan Seacrest. We can't do it. There's only one Ryan Seacrest. It's like he's ruined it for everyone. We don't want to do this. I don't want you to do this anymore. Our energy is finite. If we have a content marketing group, we only have so much energy. And I'm going to give you an example, and I'm going to use chocolate because I love chocolate and it's early and we all want chocolate. So you have the energy that's in this Mally's chocolate bar. And so to set the example, let's take that chocolate bar and I'm going to separate it into all these little bits. This is your content marketing energy. And what most of you do is we take that content marketing energy, we break up those little chocolate bits, and we say, okay, we're going to sprinkle a little bit on the blog, and we're going to do a podcast, and let's do some research, and then let's do a really crappy e-newsletter, and let's throw some over to social media, and maybe we'll do an event. That line that you see in the middle, that's the mediocre line. It means it will make absolutely no impact. And that's what most of us are doing. We want to do all, it's tempting. It's seductive. We want to do all these things at the same time. Well, we can't do that because we need 10x content. We need to get to the great line, and you're never going to get there by spreading it all out. You only have so much energy. You're not Ryan Seacrest. So this is what you need to do. And I know you don't want to do it, but this is the way to succeed, because if you look at any case study since the dawn of time, this is how they've done it, and this is how it's been successful. You take all that energy and you do one or two things really well. So in this case, you say, okay, I'm going to do a great e-newsletter and we're going to do an amazing podcast. So we have the opportunity to get to that great line. And it's hard to do that, but we absolutely have to do that. But that's what Procter & Gamble's Homemade Simple did. Started 15 years ago. They said, we're going to do an amazing blog and an amazing e-newsletter, and that's all we're going to do to start with. And that's what they did. And then they built a minimum viable audience. They started to get some traction, and then they started a television series, and now they actually launched their entire product line. And if you see their advertising program, they baked Homemade Simple into a lot of their advertising as well. This is what we need to start doing. And by the way, you're here right now at Content Marketing World because we did this at Content Marketing Institute. The first 27 months, the only thing we did was create a consistent blog that we felt was valuable for you and an e-newsletter. That was it. And then once we built the audience, once we had a loyal audience, then we launched Chief Content Officer Magazine. Then we launched Content Marketing World. And that's why it was successful. So I want you to place heavy bets on your winners. There's no plan B, folks. This is your plan A. And I know you don't want to do it. And I know you got people in your company that are saying, no, you got to do a podcast or you got to do a video. We want to kill off those things that aren't working and put that energy into the things that will work. And then when you build that minimum viable audience, then you can start to diversify into other areas.